I I've been curious about your perspective on what's going on in Ukraine.
Mhm.
Um, since I know that it's touched you pretty intimately in a way.
Mhm.
So if you're open to share that, I'd be very curious to
Sure.
hear.
Sure. I'm always glad to share. And if at least, I don't know, 10 people, 20 people, 50 people listen to this and just Google one more extra time and think about how precious and fragile the world is, it would be awesome. So basically, I can speak of Ukraine and war in Ukraine in two ways. The first is like a more human centered way, where human is in a center, and the second perspective is more of a geopolitical perspective. So let's start with the second one. So basically, what happened, for all of the people who don't know, Russia invaded Ukraine on 24th of February, or more than half a year ago. Really dark times, and probably, like, in terms of rethinking and reflecting on how the world works, and on the in general on humanity. It was one of the darkest years ever in my life, and for the majority of people, also in my surroundings. Like my best friend, for example, he's from Ukraine, from Kharkiv, and Kharkiv is since 24th of February constantly, like daily, under the fire, under the artillery rockets flying to the kindergartens, to the schools, to the hospitals. And Kharkiv is like the second biggest city, probably, maybe the third biggest city. I don't want to lie. So, and it's like ruins, almost ruins, and a lot of horrible things happened. But yeah, I think, like, in a geopolitical way, it's a madman from Kremlin, from Moscow, that just have imperialistic thoughts on land and doesn't care about any kind of human-based, I don't know, human-based underground, so to say. It's
You're
just
talking about Putin?
Putin. Yeah, Putin. Putin
Mm.
is a madman. Putin is a and yeah, for him it's like, that's what I've mentioned. Like, I have more human centralized game, for example, when I'm preparing for job interviews, but he is like, has way more imperialistic perspective about, like, conquering other lands. And here, Georgia, like, I've discovered recently, one of his biggest hobbies, and there are no reports on that, or it's just a rumors from his surroundings, that his biggest hobby is just buying other politicians all over the world. The biggest target is, for example, Great Britain, and that's why a lot of Russian oligarchs are living in Great Britain and have no problems in paying with their money somewhere in London or
Because
in
what?
Manchester.
What'd you say? He has what with other
But
leaders?
literally
Oh.
buying politicians.
Oh, okay.
It's his, like, biggest hobby. And there was also a rumor, and I can also think that it's true, that when he wanted to make this attack on and start this war on the Ukraine, it was, I don't want to lie, it was probably December, or November or December. It was clear that there will be a war, but it wasn't officially communicated. Actually, American agents and Pentagon and stuff like that predicted pretty well the start date of the invasion. Like,
Mhm.
I was really impressed. Like, chapeau. And what I wanted to say, that he had information that people in Ukraine wait with bread and salt and wine, that Russia comes and conquers the Ukrainians, because this information was sold to the Putin, and Putin like just paid a lot of gas and oil money to buy politicians in the Ukraine, but it didn't work well. And there was this rumor that everyone was awaiting of Russian invasion, and in 3 days they will conquer all the Ukraine. Like it's the second biggest country in the Europe with, I don't know, 50, 60 million population, something like that. But it wasn't the case. And all the way down, like from Putin or from Kremlin and his surrounding to a receiver of this money, they're just stealing, and sold him, I don't know, fairy tales. And yeah, for him, I think he's one of the richest, or maybe probably the richest man in the world. Yeah, and so that was geopolitical, but it's really horrible, dark days for all Europeans that are, I would say, that are if you have at least something human in your heart and indifferent, that's a dark days, because I've never thought I will experience, not directly, but indirectly or intimately, as you've mentioned, war in my life. Because for me, it was like always stories from my grandparents, the Second World War and how it went, and all this occupation and stuff. I thought, as books, that's history. Who will start a war like for nothing in the 21st century? There is a madman for that. Yeah, and so basically, I think if you ask about like the future and prediction of the war, I think that Ukraine will fight till the last soldier, because I've never seen that kind of national unity across literally across all the spheres of life, from bakers to gardeners to soldiers to IT specialists to podcasters. That kind of unification, I've never seen it. I've experienced something similar with our protests in Belarus back in 2020, but here is like a whole nother level, and that much support and that much indifferent people who really just give away their flats. For example, here in Hamburg, I've met a couple of them, just give away their flats, say, okay, I have another flat here that I'm renting, but whatever, you can take it. So, and just people, Ukrainian refugees live here for, I don't know, over 6, 7, 8 months, paying nothing. And people are really helpful. Of course, it's a kind of wealthy city, Hamburg, and a lot of wealthy neighborhoods, but still you have to be a human in the first line to do this. So, and I think that they will fight till the end. I'm not sure if they succeed, because Russia is huge and they have a lot of people who are really poor. And if you pay them like extra couple $100, they will go and fight for nothing in the front of Ukraine and just conquer territories, kill Ukrainians, stuff like that. And this propaganda machine is actually in some way amazing, of course, in a negative, but in a positive way, that to establish this propaganda over that big country in Russia,
it's effective.
It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. And I'm really sorry about Russians who got trapped into this propaganda machine for 20 years. I guess Putin is over 20 years as a president. And yeah, so, and I think that right now, for example, there are fights for Kherson. Kherson is like the southern Ukraine, a very big city, very important city for Russians, because it's like there is a bridge from Crimea that's already occupied since 2014, like this half island, to the all the important roads on the Kherson destination from Russia. So it's like really important city geopolitically. And right now there are Ukrainians started to counterattack on this direction, Kherson direction. And I think if Russia loses this city, because it's a single achievement in half a year what they've managed to occupy. One city in southern Ukraine, no more. No Kharkiv, no Kiev, no eastern biggest Ukrainian cities. No, just this one city. And if they lose it, then they've lost everything that they wanted. I mean, they didn't get a lot since the war started. And if they lose this city, and I'm pretty sure they will lose, because as I've seen how they are prepared, it's like you can forget about it. So yeah, and then probably, yeah, the Ukrainians will get back all the eastern part of Ukraine, hopefully, but it's, as I've said, it's difficult. And
you also said too, Russia has a lot to throw at it still.
Yeah. For example, lately in the news, I've read that Russia started to let out all the prisoners who had this military experience, just to send them to the war because they don't have enough capacity anymore. They are contracting prisoners, saying, okay, you have 40 years in the prison. Why not you go out right now and go to fight for Russia, for bravery, for Mother Russia, big, proud, big, proud Soviet Union again. And of course they go. So yeah, military equipment is pretty bad. Also, they're buying kind of a lot of military equipment from North Korea. So for your understanding, from North Korea, it's like the most closed country in the world, probably. And it's an official information. You can also find a lot about it in the internet. Yeah, and the second perspective, because here it's like really unpredictable. Some people said the war will be over in May. Others said, okay, till the end of August it will be over and Russia will occupy the whole Ukraine. Then a lot of factors, a lot of unpredictable elements in this equation. So that's why war is difficult. Like battlefield is difficult. And I'm not a military person, so for me it's just my personal opinion. And I'm really like loyal to Ukraine because that should be stopped. That should be stopped. And this genocide, this barbarians, it's just, it's so difficult, like, because you reflect a lot about your life. It's so difficult to keep in your head that people try to, to colonize a Mars on one side of a planet, or like in some specific regions, and in other specific regions, people just trying to like middle age conquer lands for nothing. That's kind of extremely difficult to keep it. It's like,
it seems like giving up a lot to get a little. It like doesn't make a lot of logical sense.
No logical sense at all.
Yeah.
And if you can process the information, it's like, that's really difficult to keep in mind that all those things happen on our tiny, fragile planet. One thing I've understood, our planet is so fragile, our societies are so fragile, it can break within days. And within days, you can get so much hate, so much anger, so much rage, revenge, like all the things to the whole societies, because I'm still trying. I'm honest with you. I'm still trying to not think about all the Russians in a negative way, but it's so difficult because
You're also immediately there, whereas like I'm on the other side of the world.
yeah, absolutely. But nevertheless, even in Belarus, there are a lot of people. The majority of them, I would say 70%, that doesn't support the war and do all these partisan activities and trying to blow up trains with military equipment from Russia to Ukraine. So it's also a lot of stories to tell. But yeah, that's kind of very difficult to not to generalize about all the people within a society, and to stay adequate to the facts that you see and to the responsibility, because I'm the biggest fan of personal responsibility. So if you've done bad, it's your responsibility to either fix it or you will be punished. So that's how it works, but not about this generalization that, okay, if the whole Russia did it, of course not, but difficult topic.
It's also like the idea or the concept or action of forgiveness, of like ignorance in a way. Like a lot of people don't know what they do is wrong, whether it's you know, in my case, like gunmen just like assaulting and robbing me for whatever reasons, or you're talking about Russians who you said have been influenced heavily by propaganda machines and media. It's also like wrapping your head around that, of like the ignorance of it, and like not the thinking for oneself when there's not that emphasis or that that value around them per se.
Yeah, that's
a difficult thing.
That's a very difficult thing, and in my eyes, the majority of Ukrainians and Europeans, it will take a long time to forgive Russia and Russians in general of what they've done. It will take years, 10, 20, I don't know, a lot of time.
Because now whenever you hear just the word Russian, you have negative connotations towards it.
That's what I've meant. That's what I'm trying to fight, because if I meet, I don't know, Russian in a store here in Hamburg, there are a lot of them here, but if I meet a Russian in a store, or I hear the Russian speech, I'm trying to avoid this negative connotation that, okay, stay calm. Russian is not directly a bad, negative person. It's not a war criminal or whatsoever. It's just Russian who got trapped by the regime and this propaganda machine and stuff like that. And there are a lot of bright people out there, but still the majority is not confused. Yeah, confused as well by the propaganda. A lot. Really a lot.